Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to Introduction to Directed Writing video part 3. This video deals with beginning to evaluate. The first step of evaluation is of course understanding the directions given in the question. In my previous video, part 2 of Directed Writing series, I have explained how to identify the purpose, genre, audience and tone. Now the next step is beginning to evaluate. In the very first bullet point, you are required to write discursively, evaluating the ideas you have already read in both texts. The second bullet point prompts you to write an argument or to take a view on the subject and argue about your viewpoint. I'm going to revise the discursive, argumentative, and persuasive techniques in my next slide. But before that, you must remember that you have to read two texts, and the both texts are going to have polarized opinions within them. The two texts you have to read in a directed writing activity are likely to offer two different views on the topic or polarized view on the topic, but you may find one side already more in keeping with your own views than the other. Let's read what discursive, argumentative, and persuasive techniques are. In discursive, you will read the text, one or two, both, one text or two texts. In either manner, you're going to read the text for overall meaning, exploring the details of the text and different points that are made. In the next step, you're going to stack the acquired information in order to form an argument. I'm going to show you two examples in this regard where the acquired information, which I've already acquired through discursive activity, in two different orders, and this argument is going to help me to formulate two different opinions which I'm going to use persuasive writing techniques in order to persuade my audience. By the way, directed writing is all about evaluation and analyzing. So after analyzing the text, you reach an opinion. By using persuasive writing techniques, you tend to persuade the audience about this opinion. So they are going to two texts. One is text A. So the question is the same question the question was that imagine you're a student at a school which is considering introducing esports as a part of school sports curriculum. You have to write your speech, which you need to give to the school community. School community means that both teachers and students, and then you have to deliver a speech in this regard. Let's see how we are going to the step one, how we are going to do the step one, that is how to use a discursive technique in order to evaluate the text. The first line is of course the blurb. The blurb is going to tell you what is going to happen in the article that you're going to read. Esports is the short name for electronic sports where players play video games against each other with fans watching them. The article discusses whether esports should be included in the Olympic Games. I'm not going to read the entire text, rather I've already highlighted it for you. I have highlighted the positive points with yellow and the negative with red. Esports currently enjoys enormous attention and funding. It means that there are 2 points over here, that it is able to wield global recognition and again generate a lot of revenue. The rest of the paragraphs give in detail, or they give examples and they dilate these 2 points, that it is gaining enormous attention and gaining funding. Fans argue that esports athletes are athletes in the real sense of terms. The next highlight is basically I've highlighted to explain what is meant by athlete over here, because it takes dexterity, intelligence, reflexes, and coolness under pressure. If you look at it, all these are the mental adjectives are used for mental all these adjectives are used for mental activity. Less reflexes may be for physical at the same time, but they have to do more with the mental activity. So the athlete has to be extremely present in terms of mental activity. Sorry. Then there is a negative point over here. Esports is growing, that still does not necessarily make it widely acceptable. And for whom it is not widely acceptable? Because old people scoff at it. This is an explanation of this point. Esports is young, its player and audience are young. This is a positive point. And then competitive gaming and make something more of it, even earning a living from it. It means that you are able to create employment through esports. Then this point is about this. This paragraph is about the stance that the writer is taking. The next paragraph talks about the negative points. There is a logical problem too, one that threatens esports as an Olympic event far more than the narrow-minded traditionalist like myself. So it means that there is a negative point that it is opposed by traditionalists. Games are frequently replaced by sequels and updated versions. It means that once you have played the game, the next time you're going to play it, it is going to be far more difficult. Moving a joystick simply has no athleticism, physicality, or exertion. It means that there is no physical feature associated with esports. The previous point, the positive point, also talked about the mental presence of the athlete, not the physical presence. Over here, their physical presence, lack of physical presence has been highlighted. Imagine, then we have text B. This was all about text A. Text A talked about the global recognition, generation of revenue, creating of employment, and finally that you have to have mental agility for this, and then lack of physical aspect at the same time. Then we have text B. Text B says, imagine a stadium full of screaming fans. It again talks about the recognition of it, that it is highly acceptable now. Then there is energy drink guzzling video gamers. This is a negative point, of course. Apart from physical lack of physical activity, there is also problems like energy drink guzzling. Then top esports tournaments now draw audience that rival the biggest traditional sporting events. Again, there is global recognition which is involved in this. Massive global brands have weighed in as sponsors. This is again to do with generating revenue. If you look at this, these points are more or less in line with your previous, by the way, text. But over there, the previous text talked about the negative aspects of the esports, that esport is claimed is a real deal, but arguments around popularity and difficulty only go so far. It means that this was against, by the way, inclusion of esports in Olympics, but over here this is supporting the esports. The points used are more or less the same, but look at the tone. The tone is different. I'm going to show you the same through my examples. The examples are both positive and negative, taking two different views, but using the same points, just like over here. These two texts, which are, of course, you are going to read, are more or less similar in their essence. Then we have, it would be the fifth largest in the world. It again talks about the global appeal of it. It is also where the next generation of would-be gamers post their own streams. It means that the video gamer is not limited to an arena. Rather, he himself will have a global footing where he can go global anytime which he wants to. Then there is single male and living in some sort of a basement. This talks about the stereotype of a gamer, which means that there is lack of lifestyle. There is no quality of life involved in this. People watch this thing well in word. Yes, today esports biggest tournaments rival practically any sporting event. This was a positive, by the way, take on the same topic. Now I'm going to show you the response about whether esports should be included in the sports curriculum or not. My first paragraph is, of course, about the purpose. I have used the same question in video too, but over there the purpose is the depiction of purpose is different as compared to this. Why? Because we are beginning to evaluate over here. Directed writing is all about evaluation and analysis. After analyzing the text, you reach an opinion. And by using persuasive writing techniques, you tend to persuade the audience about this opinion of yours. I'm going to drop a hint of evaluation over here. I'm not going to, by the way, lift and write the points, Why? Because I have to show that I have evaluated it. So I'm going to restructure the points according to my argument. Good morning, my fellow students and respected faculty members. I am Ali Afan of grade 11, and it gives me immense pleasure to stand before you today to shed light on a matter that I truly believe could reshape our future: the inclusion of esports in our school's curriculum. Yes, you heard me right, esport, a world where video games are not just play but purpose, not just leisure but learning. So this shows that I am in the favor of it. Now let me ask you, have you ever imagined playing video games in school? Have you ever imagined competing, not just for fun, but for recognition, for skill, for teamwork? Today I wish to talk about both the promise and pitfall of welcoming this new form of sports into our academic life. This paragraph supports my first paragraph, which shows that I'm going to support the inclusion of esports in the school program. Let's see how I am going to stack the argument, the points which have already generated by reading the text. Esports, you see, is not just about pressing buttons or staring at screens. It has become a global phenomenon. It's talk about the global recognition, an industry generating billions, creating employment, and offering international recognition. I've offered 2 points over here, and think about it. Don't esports player also need agility, intellect, spontaneous responses, tactic, and sportsmanship? I am restructuring the points, by the way, to support my argument. Just like footballers, cricketers, or athletes we cheer for on the field. Dear audience, consider this fact for a moment. If esports were a country, it would rank as the fifth largest in the world in terms of followers. Isn't that astonishing? Fifth in the world. The fandom keeps growing with millions of viewers turning in daily. Imagine the possibilities if we had access to such a platform: teamwork sharpened, cooperation enhanced, competitiveness fueled. The point was global recognition, but with global recognition and by going global in minutes, it also shows global connection. So I am elaborating this point over here. Don't we all want to be part of the world where communication and cooperation cross borders, cultures, and languages? But this shows that I'm going to show the other side of the picture. My previous 2 points were both positive, but this point is negative. But here comes the hesitation. Are we ready? That is the question, because gaming in the school might also lead to problems. More screen time, less study time, a sedentary lifestyle where obesity is already rising among youth. Don't we all know at least one friend who got a little too obsessed with these games? And yes, certain games promote violent behavior, but we must not forget that esports are definitely much safer and more civilized than combat sports like boxing. I have given the negative points over here, but again, all the negative points appear to support my positive, by the way, tone. So, my dear friends, where does this leave us? Should we reject esports altogether or embrace it with guidance? Well, my answer is clear. Esports must find its place in school curriculum, because to deny it is to deny progress. To deny it is to deny opportunity. To deny it is to deny the future. Generational prejudice against esports is unfounded and ill-informed. This was a negative point, which I'm again using to support my positive point. Together, we can shape it, guide it, and ensure it becomes a source of growth, not harm. Thank you for listening, and thank you for imagining the future with me. If you look at it, this is a positive stance that yes, esports should be included in the school curriculum. And I have first one for the positive points, and then there is a small paragraph about the negative points. Again, I have closed it by using a negative point, but in the favor of the positive argument. Then comes that I do not want esports to be a part of the school curriculum. I'm going to show you how to write it down and how to stack your information. The same points which you have used in the previous by way response, the same points will be used over here, but the stacking of information or the stacking of argument is going to be, the stacking of information to develop the argument is going to be different. Good morning, my dear fellow students and respected faculty members. I am Ali Afan of grade 11, and I feel immense pleasure and I must admit a little nervousness, standing here on the stage before you all to shed light on a very important matter: the inclusion of esports in our school's curriculum. While I recognize the global rise of this phenomenon, I stand before you today with a firm belief that esports, despite their popularity, should not be a part of our formal education. I am dropping a hint, a very clear hint, that I have already done the evaluation and I have formed an opinion over here. Here, have you ever imagined, yes, really imagine playing video games in school not as a hobby but as a subject? Interesting, isn't it? But at the same time, troubling. Today, I stand before you not just with facts but with deep concerns, with heartful worries about whether this integration of technology in sports truly belongs in our schools. If you look at it, of course, the purpose is for the identification of purpose. You do not need to read the text, but reading of text is an important factor, and that includes evaluation and analysis. When you have already, by the way, stated the purpose, then you show your analysis or your evaluation. Let's be fair, esports, this global phenomenon, again, I'm talking about the global recognition of it, but let's see how I'm stacking the information. Now, the same information about global recognition, generating revenue, creating employment, lacking physical activity, no quality of life, expensive equipment, and of energy drinks, how I'm going to stack it. Now you're going to see it. Previously, in my previous response, I stacked positive points together, then there was a negative paragraph, and then again it turned into positive. Let's be fair, esports, global phenomenon, is undeniably huge. The revenue it generates is astonishing. And yes, professional players display agility, quick reflexes, cleverness, and sportsmanship, just like traditional athletes. But here is the question. Can we really equate sitting for hours on a chair with the physical rigor of running, jumping, or sweating it out on the field? What have I done over here? I'm using positive and negative together to support my argument that schools should not be interested with our health. Schools are interested with our health, our growth, our well-being. So how does promoting a sedentary lifestyle fits into that responsibility? A beautiful way to explain that a sport should not be a part of the school curriculum, and I have used positive and negative together. When I wanted to have a positive view of it, I showed it, I stacked it differently. But over here, stacking is stacking of information is positive and negative together. And then there is the cost, high-end computers, gaming chairs, constant upgrades. This was the point which was about, I think it was there in text A, where it stated that that the games are upgraded all the time. So this point has been used over here. You don't need to include all the points in your argument, but the points which support your argument should be included. How would schools afford all that? And even if they did, what happened when today's popular game is tomorrow's obsolete one? Students could master one game only to realize it no longer matters. Where is the fitness in that? Where is the parity? An excellent explanation, by the way, that it should not be part of the school curriculum. Of course, teamwork, cooperation, and coordination are valuable. This is a positive point. It starts with positive, then I end with negative. But let's be honest, alongside those positive, esports culture often encourages unhealthy habits, energy drinks, late nights, fast food binges. Is that what we want to normalize in schools? Yes, esports connect cultures. Yes, they promote global communication. Yes, they can teach some value, and I replace but. Should schools not primarily prepare us for real life challenges? Should schools not equip us with practical skills that will help us step confidently into the future? Well, dear friends, I too play games. I enjoy them, but I have realized through experience that they belong to our leisure, not our lessons, not in classroom, not in curricula. So let us remember, schools must shape minds, not screens. Schools must inspire movement, not sitting, not more sitting. Schools must guide us towards balance, not addiction. Well, with these words, I conclude, esports, though fascinating, must not be part of our school curriculum. Let us play games in our free time, but let us live our education in real time. Thank you for listening. I think it's an excellent explanation how to, by the way, to evaluate. There are 5 steps of evaluation. You need to identify your purpose of writing. That is done through the question. You identify your audience and tone, because this is going to tell you what sort of language you are going to employ. If your audience is formal, you're going to employ a formal language. If it is because if this was a school community, so both teachers and students were there, so the tone used employed was formal. Beginning to evaluate using techniques of discursive essay. This was, I explained it to you how to annotate your positive points and then your negative points. I annotated them with a different color. I would encourage you to use a pencil or a pen or blue ink and a black ink to identify the different sides of the picture. Formulate an argument by stacking the information to support your view. I have also shown you through this, through two examples, how to stack the same information differently to support your two different viewpoints, one positive and one negative, and then begin to persuade by using persuasive techniques. This I'm going to elaborate in my later videos when I'm going to deal with the genres and specifically what sort of language should be employed in a certain genre. I hope that you have learned a lot today. Thank you for listening to me.